friends, I am Dolores Williams of DWSU Stand Up. I want to thank my sponsors for making these podcasts possible. Pernicanas Ristorante has been serving pizza and homemade pasta and rolls in San Diego since 1946. The restaurant is located at 9933 Mercy Road at Scripps Parkway. You can get special catering and events. For the best real estate service in San Diego, contact Paula Witzel at San Diego County Real Estate, 619-585-0945. Go to www.lealrealty.com or Paula at realestate.com. Henry A. Martinez is the change needed in Chula Vista. He is running for the city council in District 3. He is the only homeowner running in this race. He is a 32-year Navy veteran, decorated Afghanistan war veteran. Mr. Martinez is an honest man of high character. Our district needs a person that is 100% committed to the community of Chula Vista. www.martinez4citycouncil.com. Arthur Schaefer, organizing director, Mass Resistance, an effective international pro-family group fighting for 25 years the LGBT agenda, indoctrination of our children, stop the drag queen story hours, corrupt sex ed curricula, and bad legislation across our country. Arthur Schaefer can be reached at 781-474-3005 or Arthur at massresistance.com. Thank you. You are in for a treat today. Please be sure to watch the podcast. Good morning, friends. This is Dolores Williams at DWSU Stand Up. I have a very, very special presentation for you today. This is a recording with Sergeant Major Juan Hidalgo Jr. We recorded with Sergeant Major Hidalgo 2 times. We bring you an awesome video with some complications in the recording. We recorded twice, and I tell you, my team, let me acknowledge my team, Kim Yater and Liam Watkins. They are, I'm gonna say, the bomb. They have worked tirelessly to put this presentation together. And because the message from Juan Hidalgo is so powerful, it needs to be heard. So you will hear and you will see a point where you will hear our voices, but the voices will be talking, but the screen will be frozen. But I need you to listen to the whole presentation. This message has to be heard. Juan Hidalgo is running for the 51st Congressional District. This man is already doing the job for the people in the 51st Congressional District. His voice needs to be heard. And I need you to listen and watch this podcast. Listen to Sergeant Major Juan Hidalgo. Put him on your target list to vote for. This is an awesome man who needs to represent this country, just like he did on the battlefield. For over 31 years, he represented this country in the U.S. Marine Corps. He is a fighter. He is a doer. He is fighting for the 51st Congressional District. I need you to hear him. Thank you, and God bless you. Hello, friends. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to DWSU Stand Up. If we do not stand up for what we believe, who will? This is Dolores Williams. I want to welcome you today and thank you for coming each week to this podcast. I really appreciate it. And today I have a very, very, very special guest. And I'm just going to tell you right off, he is a very good friend, my husband George and I appreciate him so much. Every time we see him, he always greets us with that warm smile. He never lets us go by without speaking to us. And so I appreciate my guest today. And I will tell you, he is Sergeant Major Juan Hidalgo Jr., retired military. And we're going to have a great discussion with him today. And Juan was born in San Diego, raised in National City. He has a wife, friend, and they have 3 young adults. And so I'm sure things get very interesting at their home. But one most important thing I want to say about Juan is he is a Marine. He is a man's man. He spent 31 years serving our country. And I want to thank you, Juan, for those 31 years of service that you gave to this country. So you understand what's at stake. And anyway, Juan is a devoted family man and a committed Christian. I need to tell you that. And he has deployed twice to Iraqi freedom to support this country when we were at war in Iraq. And he continues to fight. Even after he retired, he started fighting, continuing to fight for this country and for this state. So I want you to help me welcome our dear friend, Mr. Juan Hidalgo Jr. Thank you, Juan. Welcome.
Thank you, Dolores. It's always a pleasure to see you and talk with you. So I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Yes, yes, yes. Great. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I heard your wonderful interview on KUSI this morning. And I just want to take a little tag from that. Now, in your interview this morning, you talked about the difference between yourself and the person, the other one that you're running against. And you talked about socialism. Now, I want you to just talk briefly to my audience about America and what would happen to us. And we know socialism and a lot of socialist things are happening in this country, which is not good. But if we turn in this election and with socialists like Venezuela or Cuba, do the American people, are they prepared? Do they really understand what's at stake in this election?
No, I really think most Americans don't want to have anything to do with socialism. It's just a loud minority that is trying to get their way, and it's about power. That's all it's about. It's a socialism or communism, and they're very close. One of the first things they do is get rid of God, and we see it. So we're not too far away. And people tell me all the time, well, you know, I don't want to get involved in politics. There needs to be a separation between the church and politics. And I said, I agree with that to an extent. But they said, what about, I don't want to get involved because it's politics. I said, do you think politics hasn't already influenced you? They said, no. I said, really? When was the last time you went to church? That's all we got to think about. Why aren't we in churches today? We can go to Home Depot, and I don't want to see these stores closed. We can go to Walmart, but we can't go to church. That's a fundamental right and a constitutional right to assemble. You can also riot if you like, but you can't go to church. More than ever, right now, people need God. People, we see that right now, the suicide rate is up, spousal abuse is up. Why? People don't have access to their pastors. They don't have access. You can pray to God anywhere. I understand that. But the Bible tells us clearly that we should not forsake the gathering of the saints, right? We're supposed to come together to help one another. So we just need to look at that. That's one good example of socialism will remove God. That's their whole ploy. Get rid of God, break down the family, and they'll have their way. We can't allow that. I have a saying we say in the Marine Corps all the time, not on my watch. Never in my wildest imagination when I was fighting for this country did I think that I would see a part of our country actually welcoming socialism. That's crazy, and we can't allow that to happen. We need to work hard. We need to get out the vote, and we need to win this year. That's why one of the reasons I'm running is because I want to serve the district from which I came. This country, this district, the country has been great to me. So I want to give back because you think about it right now, it's no longer about us. It's about our children and our grandchildren. And we need to be ready to stand up and fight for that.
Yes, you are so right, Juan. Now, I want to throw this idea out there to you, and I mentioned it to Republicans who are running campaigns, because many Democrats refuse to debate, and that concerns me because our voters deserve to hear from both people side by side, questioning each other, and so they can make an intelligent decision about who they're voting for rather than just arbitrarily voting for the D or the R or the I or whatever. I like the idea that Clint Eastwood came up with a few years ago. It was called the empty chair debate. I would invite him to a debate. If he doesn't show up, if he doesn't have the courage to show up, have the debate without him with the empty chair and get your message out. I wish more Republicans would actually do that, because otherwise, I think you should schedule it with KUSI. Schedule it, invite him.
Just so you know, we've done that twice already. We've done that twice in 2018. We did that because he would not come. One, his people contacted us and said, yeah, we're looking into it. And last minute, of course, he couldn't make it. So it's just a sheer arrogance. Doesn't want to debate because he thinks that he has it, doesn't need to. I'll tell, and I think I shared this with you before, Dolores, but this is how arrogant the other guy is. We have a mutual friend, and my mutual friend saw him and told him, hey, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you campaigning? And he said, I don't have to. And he says, my friend tells him, but you haven't done anything in 8 years. He tells him, I don't have to. This is the part that really gets you upset. He says, those people will still vote for me. That's arrogance. But he thinks that he doesn't need to. And here's the fact is, we are paying, as taxpayers, we're paying somebody $174,000 a year, and he has done absolutely nothing. So I asked you guys, if you have a job, which I know you guys do, and you didn't produce for a week, 2 weeks, let's just say a month max, would you still hold your job? Absolutely no. I see head shaking. Absolutely not. No. So why is it that we allow somebody to stay in Congress that has done absolutely, you can't, I know you can, because I've asked his supporters that have told me their support. I said, please name one significant thing that he has accomplished to help families of the district. And they can't. They tell me, well, the reason they'll vote for these people is because he's a Democrat. I said, so the bottom line, let's be honest, if we remove that D or R off the ballot, I'd win every time, because in the last 2 times, because that's what people are voting sometimes. And we need to get out of that. We need to start voting the man and not the party. Again, if we vote the man, not the party, I win every day, because my character is beyond reproach. He can't touch my character, and he knows it. His character is in question. There's things out there on him. And we can go into that in later, but that's, I mean, for instance, won't debate, why are you running? Okay, why do you say you're from National City when you didn't grow up in National City? You grew up in Santee, you went to Santana High, I'm sorry, and it's clear because we have pictures of it, but yet you want to tell everybody that you're from National City. Integrity is important to me. I grew up in National City. There's enough people on Facebook alone that will tell you, oh, we know him. You got to tell them Johnny because they don't know who Juan is. But they'll say, yeah, we know, of course, because I grew up in National City. I'm from that. My dad still lives in the same home I grew up in. That's just small pieces of integrity, but integrity means so much. And if you're going to lie about little things like that, what else are you lying about?
Yes, integrity is critical. So I wonder, what do we need to do to get the information out? How do you change the hearts and minds of people who are stuck on the D and the R? How do you change that narrative with the thinking? I mean, do they see what's happening to our children, to families, what's happening all around us? Does that concern them at all?
I think people are waking up, and we're out educating people every day. Dolores, you've seen me out on the streets. You see me working the precincts. We're doing that every day. Yesterday, for example, I was in Imperial Valley. It was a no-shoot day, that's for sure. It was 106 degrees. Our plan was to get there, work a few hours, and try to beat the heat. Unfortunately, as I tell my guys, my team out there and out here, we work the standard. We don't work the time. So it was 106 degrees, definitely sweating, but we hit over 800 homes yesterday. Okay. That's what it takes. And people want that hard work. They, like I always say, they want someone that'll work, fight, and win for them. They don't want someone that'll just work and fight, someone that can win for them. And I know how to do both. I've done so very successfully in the Marine Corps for over 31 and a half years. And I do have 4 combat tours. I'm not trying to correct you, but 4 combat tours. And by the grace of God, I've always been able to bring everybody home. The way that we to really answer your question, the way that we do this, we continue to educate, continue to talk to people. Unfortunate, but good, I think that COVID has woken people up. People have started to see the Democrats are not doing anything for them. Talk is cheap. They talk about what they're going to do. They don't do anything. We need action. I'm a man of action. I make things happen. I'm a mover and shaker, and I know how to do that. Right now, like I told you, like you heard on KUSI, I'm not talking about what I will do. I'm talking about what I do right now. I'm not the guy in Congress, but I'm working for the people right now. I've partnered with 16 food banks, my team and I, between here and Imperial Valley, and we're working with them. We're out there serving people, making sure they get food, making sure they get what they need. Okay, saw him, they go, whoa, what's up? And he said, no, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you. And I said, what's going on? And he goes, and he kept social distance, everything. What's going on? He says, I just want to tell you, Mr. Hidalgo, I'm with you. I said, really? And, you know, as we spoke more, I knew he was a Democrat. He told me, he goes, I'm a Democrat, but I'm so tired of what the other guy has not done for us. And we see you here working for us, making a difference. I'm with you. And he said, I'm part of a local union. I'm telling all my guys, we're with you because that guy has not delivered a thing. And I said, praise God. So people are waking up. You know, he's arrogant because he has a bunch of money. You know, we need more money. You said, how do we? Of course, we need more money. So everybody that's watching, go to hidalgoforcongress.com and make a contribution. $5, whatever, it all helps. But that will take us over the top because we need it to get on more TV, to do things like that, to reach the masses. And people, like I said, are coming over, just educating them. And a lot of them are. As you heard me on KUSI say, I recently had, and it's not the first time, but a few elected officials have reached out to my team and asked for a meeting with me. And because you think about this, I'm going to share with you that the other guy, for environmentalists out there that are listening, he's a 3-time failure, okay? You have the New River, you have Imperial Beach, and you have the Salton Sea. He's failed on all of them. I sat down with some people in Imperial Valley, elected officials. And they told me, they said, and I knew where they were going. It was a good conversation, great Americans, and they're Democrats, and I don't care. I tell everybody, I don't care if you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican. I'm a proud Republican. But whatever you are, I'm going to work for you and your family as well. But these Democrats said, Mr. Hidalgo, he says, 2 of them actually said, we are getting support for our issue here in the New River from the state. And I smiled because I knew where they were going. And they said, but we have had no support from the federal, from our representative. And I said, okay, I knew that. I know he doesn't support you. He doesn't. He'll run down here when the cameras are rolling and say he's part of it. He's not done anything. So I told them both, help me. You need to help me get into Congress because the fact of the matter is, things like that, I can't do much until I'm in office. I can go out there and talk with the people and work with them, yes, but making a difference when it comes to the budget, because we know Congress holds purse strings. I need to be in Congress. So I can do it. They've agreed to help and to support. I told them, they said, we will hold you to it. I said, I want you to hold me to it. I want everybody to hold me to my job. I'm not afraid of that. And we're not going to take 8 years to do things either. Okay. Like I said, I know how to get in and make things happen. Day one, let's move and start fixing the things like the Imperial Beach, the sewage spill coming from Mexico. Let's fix those things. And it doesn't take 40 years. It's been going on since I was a kid. I remember the beaches being closed. And yeah, I'm a little bit older than 40 years.
Yes, I know that sewage problem is a big deal, and it has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you talk about the education for children in this district, what would you do to improve education for children in this district?
Well, a little background on that so you understand. I think your viewers understand. I'm sure you know this, but in our district, it is 68%, only 68% of our young people are graduating high school. That's appalling. The national average is 84%. If you go to the 52nd, it's 92%. Why is it that nobody cares, or at least the perception is, and I think it's valid perception, that people think that nobody cares about them south of the 8. I care about them, and that's why I'm willing to stand up and fight. Well, first thing I'll do to answer your question is I want to get back to having parents make decisions. Parents, I will always fall on the side of what parents believe and think and what they want for their children, not administrations, not unions, but what parents want. Right now, the parents want children that get a good quality education, not indoctrination, education. That's what's important. We need to get back to reading, writing, arithmetic, teaching the basics. I'll give you an example. Ladies, I remember, I think you guys are maybe a little bit younger than me, but you all were told growing up, I'm sure, go sound it out, look it up, okay? You didn't say, you weren't told, well, how does that feel to you? What word do you feel that sounds like? You weren't told, no, because there's a reason, there's a way that it comes out, there's a process. Let's get back to teaching children those things instead of telling them things about our personal beliefs or pushing things on them. Children shouldn't be, at very young ages, this is what's happening, they're being indoctrinated about sexual experiences, things that's a parent's job to teach, not teacher's job. And I'm sure, and I've spoken to a lot of teachers, some of them are very uncomfortable teaching that. So we need to get back to making sure our children get a quality education so we can take that number up. So it won't be 68%, but it'll be at least the average, the national average. And you're saying, well, how do we do that? Like I said, back to parents, back to competition. Let's make it competitive. You know, I would sit down with the Secretary of Education and say, how can you help me? See, nobody wants to go and sit down with the administration because they don't want to give the administration a win. You work to take care of the people who sent you to Congress. That's what it means. And I would sit with the Secretary of Education and ask her, how can you help me? Is it charter school? Is it private school? Do we help our public schools more? How can we get there? Because I want to see the end goal is to get everybody a quality education. And I think we'll do that because, again, if you make it competitive, if you have school A, B, and C, and I have to take my children to A, what is their incentive to do better? There is none. But if I can take my funds, my child, and put them in B, and the funds follow them, A has to pick up their game. And guess what? I speak to a lot of teachers. They love this idea. The only ones that don't like this idea, the ones I've talked to, the ones that aren't the type A competitive personality. The ones that are kind of subpar, they don't like it. They hate me. They get mad at me. But see, most of them are competitive and they love because they care about their students. So there'll be some out there that don't like what I'm saying. And you know, there are very few, but most of them don't want to pick up their game. But most of them want to bring their A game. They want to do well. When they, you know, the old saying, sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. We have to get back to that. And we do have some great teachers out there. I will never, it's not an indictment against our teachers. It's the process, the bureaucracy that it's become. So we'll get there. We'll get them there. And I got some ideas like I just shared with you. And we will get there. Whether it's, like I said, kind of, here's something you got to think. Aren't they kind of proving that homeschooling works right now? Parochial schools work, you know, but I have nothing against a public education. I'm the product of a public education. So, I mean, it works too, but we got to get back to teaching the basics.
Yes, that's true. You know, I had a wonderful interview last week with Rebecca Fredericks, and I know you probably didn't get to look at that interview.
But this one's better, right? I don't know who she is. That's how I'm joking. Now we get hate mail.
Oh, no, you won't get hate mail. Yeah, Rebecca she took on the teachers union, and a big part of the problem, one with education, is the teachers unions. And Rebecca wrote a book, Standing Up to Goliath, and that was actually the title of my podcast last week. And her book goes into a lot of detail. You may want to grab that book and read it, Standing Up to Goliath. And she challenged the teachers unions, actually went to the Supreme Court. Her case went to the Supreme Court, challenging them. And to this day, teachers and people that work in governments and et cetera do not have to pay union dues because of that case. But she's out there fighting for kids, and it'd be a good person for you to hook up with.
I'm familiar with it now. You jogged my memory. My memory, and she's a great speaker. I heard her speak a few times, and I read a part of her book, and it's really good because she brings up the fact that the teachers union, the big part of it, not so much the local, but the big industry of it has really went astray, and they were the ones, for example, she talked about that funded the Hog Young man. Because he wasn't a grassroots as they try to portray it, he had all this backing. So I'm familiar with it.
Oh yeah, and as you say, there's so much corruption in the unions, and so many things pulling our children in the wrong direction, and that's something that needs to be corrected. But you know what, parents need to know. That's why I bring it up every week. They need to know. And I was listening last night about the parents in, I believe, New York or New Jersey, where the Black Lives Matter curriculum is being forced. And along with 1619, those projects are being forced on children and students in those communities. And that's just not right. And I know that our president is coming out with 1776 curriculum that he wants taught in all of our schools and universities, because we have a problem from kindergarten through college, because the indoctrination and the hate against this country goes far and wide. And they're starting to teach our babies from kindergarten. They want to teach them to hate this country. And I know that means something to you because you fought for this country, but yet our young children from kindergarten are being indoctrinated to even go against their parents. That's how evil this curriculum is, to teach children to not even listen to their parents. And I mean, this stuff has to stop, Juan. It has to stop with teaching children to hate their country, to hate their parents. And then we have people that, you vote one way. We can't as Christians, we have to vote our biblical values. And yes, politics, and this, you can't separate politics from what we do, and the church from Christianity, because they're linked. They're tied together, because they're all, and one, you're a man of values. You're a Christian man who stands for what's right. And those things, they have to work together. You can't separate them, because one without the other, you have corruption. And what we have now is corruption. So
you make some valid points, and we got to really wake Christians up, because our dear brothers and sisters need to get active. I love what Dr. Garlow says. Dr. Garlow in his book, Well Versed, says people, and he's specifically talking about pastors, just need to stop saying it's political. It's not political. It's biblical. When you're talking thou shalt not murder, when you're talking a lot of things that are biblical, we need to stop saying they're political. The reason that the left has used that so effectively is the fact that it's a way to silence us. Oh, we don't want to talk about that because that's political. No, it's not. When I'm talking about murdering 3,000 babies a day, it bothers me how, and I wonder, and I've had this debate with several of my brothers and sisters in Christ, and said, how can you ever vote Democrat when that's biggest part of their platform is abortion? How can you do that? And stop with the nonsense that it's a woman's choice. That's nonsense. That's a lie. That's something they've used, because if it was all about choice, why isn't it choice when it comes to owning a weapon? Why isn't it choice when it comes to my children going to whatever school I want them to go to? It's not about choice then. So it's a catchphrase that they've designed very effectively that we need to remind Christians, because I'm a firm believer. There's two groups in society that can change anything in this country if they'll get out and really put the vote and vote their values. And that's Christians and veterans. If Christians and veterans will get to the polls, guess what? We can change anything we want in this country for the right. See, I bring up veterans because so many, and I'll always stick up and work for my fellow veterans. The fact is, nobody is really doing it. The president finally is. We got a president that's looking out for them. The VA is getting better. It's not great yet, but it's getting better. We had 8 years of nothing but tear down our veterans, and it was appalling. So veterans need to stand up. They're no longer, if you're out, you're retired, you're no longer a apolitical person. You can speak out. But we're taught that we're in. We're basically apolitical. Time to speak up. Same thing with Christians. Christians started with the Johnson Amendment back in 1959, saying that you couldn't talk about politics in the church. So they silenced a majority of Christians. Well, you don't silence unions. You don't silence hate groups, because they still speak out what they want to. So let's get to the polls. Let's show people that it's important that we vote, as you said, our biblical values. It's so important right now, more than ever. You know what it is, and you know it's bigger than communism. It's the evil one. It's the devil that's after breaking down the family and getting God out of everything. We cannot allow that to happen. Our country was founded on Christian Judeo values. We need to make sure they stay in our country and not remove them like the left tried to do at their convention. You notice they wouldn't even say God for the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you kidding me? God.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, you went into the military right out of high school. What caused you to, out of high school, go into the Marine Corps?
You know, it was a dream of mine. It's really, my parents my father's still alive. My father could tell you, all my relatives that are still alive tell you that since about 8 years old, I always wanted to be a Marine. And remember, that's back when we taught patriotism. Schools were excited about being Americans. You know, and I had a dear friend, our neighbor across the street, Jack Wilkinson. And he was a World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veteran. And I would sit around the neighborhood. Me, back in the 70s, when you sat around and you listened to the neighbors. If there was a project going in the neighborhood, you sat and you listened to these. And I heard all these stories about, you know, Tarawa, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, places he had served, the Incheon, the frozen reservoir, you know, in Korea. And I heard these stories and I said, wow, I want to do that. I want to serve my country when I'm old enough. And my cousin and I, when we were about 10, we already started going to the recruiter right there in National City. We'd go, and the recruiter's like, kids, get out of here. You're too young. Come back in a couple of years. And when we were 17, we started going, and 18, I was right there, signed up, because just like now, it's just out of pure service to my country. I love this country. Nowhere can things that I've been blessed to have, could you do anywhere else but the United States of America? So I wanted to serve, and I loved it. I loved it. After a couple of years, after about a year, I knew it was for me, and I just decided to stay. You know, after almost 31, almost was actually 31 and a half years, and I just, okay, it's time to go then. It was time to retire.
You know, with your patriotism, Juan, would you recommend programs for young people today to cause them to be more patriotic? Would you teach that in schools? Because that's missing in our schools today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to teaching reading, writing, arithmetic in our schools. We need to get away from indoctrination systems where right now our children, unfortunately, especially in the 51st district, our children are being indoctrinated. They're not being educated. And we need to, and please, that's not an indictment against teachers. We have some great teachers out there, and I speak to many of them, and many of them want to they want to teach. They don't want to mess with these things that they're telling them to be taught, to teach the children, you know, things like sex education at such a young age. That's parents' job. That's not the teacher's job. We need to get back to teaching the basics and let parents, I'm always going to fall on the side of parents. Let parents have the control. It's parents. I will always support the parents' rights.
Yes. Now, we're going to talk a little more about that later, but I want to ask you, now I know that you're tired of the unemployment in the 51st Congressional District.
Yes,
what would you do to help bring jobs back to this Congressional District?
right. Well, unfortunately, as you indicate, we have a high unemployment rate. You know, before the pandemic, we had 11% unemployment, when the rest of the nation was touting 3.2%. That's unacceptable. Just last week in Logan Heights, just a small portion of the district, it was 18%. So we go look places at Nyland and we go places in Imperial Valley when it's 29%. Okay, we must bring jobs back, and we must entice and welcome companies to come into the district. You know, we could do that through tax incentives. We can do that and really bring them here. Here's an example that should have happened under the guy that's in there, didn't do it, didn't push for it. If you recall, here in San Diego, one of the things I'll do and push for is industry to come here. Let's get good paying jobs. You recall the San Diego Stadium, San Diego Chargers were talking about leaving, right? There was one place they were talking about was Chula Vista. That's in my district. Where was the congressman? It's so important because that is one small area. You know, it seemed, I say small, but that would have brought an amazing amount of jobs to the district, but nobody. And again, the guy was asleep at the wheel, didn't want to come help. You know, and people also love the Chargers here and said, but again, it would have been more about bringing jobs to the district. That's just one example. You know, out in the southeastern part of the district, out in Imperial Valley, jobs are very scarce, and we need to do more work. And I will work with people like, why hasn't anybody sat down with the Secretary of HUD? There's money there that the Secretary has to help urban development, to help small businesses. Why doesn't he sit down? Why? Because that would give the administration a win. To be quite frank with you, if it was a Democrat administration and I could work to help bring jobs here, I would still work with them. That's what's important. It doesn't mean you agree with people all the time. It means working for people to help your constituency. And that's what I'll do when I'm in Congress. And to be quite frank, I'm not even waiting till I'm in Congress. I'm already working for the people. I'm already out there helping people. People call me often when they can't find a job. And my team is on board, and we call people, we know enough people, hey, can you help this person? Can you? And we help people sometimes get jobs. So there's a lot of work I'm already doing, and I'm not even in Congress, and I'm certainly not getting paid to be in Congress. But that's not the point. The point is I am working for the people right now. I'm not waiting until I get to Congress.
Well, I tell you, the people in the 51st Congressional District will be well served to have you as their congressman. And I hope and pray this time that they will listen. Okay. Now, you were blessed to get your AA and your BA degree while you were in the military. And what a blessing that you could share with children in your district what you accomplished, your education, while serving this country. You were able to accomplish that, and I think that is just wonderful. And I think you could encourage young people to consider the military in this congressional district.
You know, Dolores, I'm a very blessed man. I can't take credit. I always give glory and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I grew up, as I told you, I grew up in National City. And part of the reason why I want to run, and I'm running, and I will be the congressman, is because young people need positive role models. You see, when you grow up in a place like National City, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I came from a terrible family. I came from a very good family. But because you grew up in National City, people will tell you things like, you're not going to be anything. You can't ever amount to anything. But see, by the grace of God, I was blessed. I joined the military. If I didn't, who knows where I would be today. The Lord had a plan for me. While I was in there, you already indicated, I arose to the highest enlisted rank. I served at the highest levels. I attained 2 college degrees, an associate's degree and a bachelor's of science in criminal justice. That is awesome in the sense that I'm praying that some kid out there will see this, see me on TV or something, say, you know what? If that guy can do it, I can do it. And that's absolutely correct. If I can do it, they can do it. Now, it doesn't come easy. I'm not ever going to say that. It's not free. It's by hard work, determination, and by the grace of God. So that's part of what we need to teach people. Get out there, get ready to work, and you can earn it. You can attain things that you never thought that you would attain in your wildest dreams. Some of the things, we had it's a blessing, it really is, but some of my team knows me since we were kids. Some of the people on my team have known me since we were teenagers, some younger than that. And one of my team members was over our house for Thanksgiving, and I remember her looking at me and says, "Wow, a lot of people that know me growing up call me Johnny. That's what I was known by." And she says, "Johnny, wow." My wife was sitting there. She says, "Wow, Johnny, this is interesting. From National City to this." She was in my home, and she's like, and I said, "God is good. God is good. Only could, by the grace of God, and in a country that allows you to attain your goals, your dreams, can you be something?" I've been all over the world. I mean, there's very few countries that I haven't been to. And there's no country like the United States of America. None. And I'm telling you, a kid from National City rose to the highest enlisted rank in the Marine Corps, worked at the executive level, earned 2 college degrees, is also a graduate of National Defense University, senior enlisted leadership. Only in America does that happen. And now running for Congress. Only in America does that happen, my friends. That is what's so good. And I'm praying that some kid that is being told he'll never be anything or she'll never be anything will see this and say, "You know what? That guy can do it. I can do it." We must give them positive role models, because if not, there's an old saying that in the absence of good leadership, people will follow bad leadership. We don't want them following the drug dealers, the gangbangers. We want them saying, "You know what? That's a person that's of color. That's a person that was told they were going to be, but look, they made it. I can do it." And they can. They certainly can.
That is so true, Juan. You are truly an inspiration. Now, I want to ask you this. I know that you're tired of the living conditions in the 51st Congressional District as well. Now, what will you do? How will you work to improve safety and living conditions in the 51st Congressional District?
Well, since you've read my platform, jobs, education, and public safety are my priorities. Public safety is something that we really need to work on. The guy, again, that I'm running against has been a complete and abject failure when it comes to public safety. Things like the New River in Calexico, the Tijuana River in Imperial Beach, okay, the Salton Sea in Imperial Valley. All those are complete failures. As a matter of fact, I'll share with you that the New River in Calexico, Imperial County, the Board of Supervisors last week said they are thinking about renaming it because it's a complete failure and they have no support from federal, okay, from their representative. They are thinking about renaming the polluted New River the Vargas River because he has been absent and has failed them, okay? We have Democrats even turning on him and showing what a failure he has been, all right? What will I do? Very simple. We don't need to have another study. There's enough studies that have been done. We know what the problem is in Imperial Beach, for example. Mexico is dumping raw sewage into our country. We need to make them stop quickly. Again, why hasn't anybody sat down with the president and explained the situation down here? I would ask for a meeting with the president and say, "Mr. President, can I show you what's going on down here? We need to stop this. It's dumping raw sewage into California. It's really affecting the entire beach all the way up to La Jolla. And you can't really say it doesn't go further. It does, okay? We need to stop that. We can make them stop it and we don't pay for it. I have experts down there that have shared with me how we can stop it. What we'll do is we need to stop it. Once we stop the flow, then we start cleaning up that valley. What kind of jobs would that provide? It's going to take, the experts explain to me, 5 to 7 years to clean it up. We're going to create jobs right there because we need people to come help clean it up. Once we get that cleaned up, that area would be so great And what a great travel destination. What a tourist place that will be when we get the Tijuana River flowing again in a clean way. Can you imagine the hotel industry? Can you imagine the tourist industry? A lot of jobs there, okay? We have to get that cleaned up. That's part of public safety. The new river's the same way, and I'm gonna tell you, I point that way, like you know, but the new river doesn't get as much publicity as the Tijuana sewage spill. It doesn't. And I sat down with 2 Democrats recently, public officials, who said, Mr. Hidalgo, we need your help. And I said, what's up? And they said, we are getting a lot of support. We're getting some support from the state of California. And I started smiling and they said, you know where I said, I know exactly where, but we are getting absolutely no support from our representative. I said, okay, this is what I need. I need you guys to help me get in office, because to be quite frank, I can't do anything about it till I get in office. They go, but Mr. Hidalgo, we'll help you, but we're going to hold you accountable. I said, I want to be held accountable. I want to be held accountable. I'm not a guy that shies away from responsibility. When I'm in office, we're going to get this cleaned up. It should have been cleaned up a long time ago, but you have to hold those that are responsible accountable. I often give people an analogy. If your neighbor was throwing trash in your backyard or dumping sewage in your backyard, would you allow it? Would you pay to make them stop? You would go over there, knock on their door and say, stop it right now, right? We need to make them stop it. We have several ways to do it, okay? And we can do this. But first you stop it, then you have them come and clean it up. You clean up your side. We like I said, that'll create a lot of jobs. But we have to, because it is now it has been for a while, putting American lives at risk. Our children down in Imperial Beach can't even go swimming. You want to go to a national defense point? What about the SEALs that are doing their training in Coronado? That affects them as well. We need to get it stopped now. And it's not going to take me 8 years, okay? I'm a man of action. I make things happen. I'm a mover and a shaker. We will get this done. And again, I'm going to go to DC and start talking to people. I will ask for a conference with the president. Sir, can you help me stop this? He's been great, and we need to continue to clean this up. They're not doing it right now, but we're going to get it clean. But it's not something new. It's been happening since I was a kid. And now the last 8 years, this guy has done nothing. We need to clean it up. Let me pause there on that part. Now just public safety in general now, because a lot of people don't understand that part is public safety. It is public safety. Also people in Southeast San Diego, people in Calexico, people in different areas of the district that I know very well, they don't feel safe coming out of their homes. That's public safety. There's been a rift between police officers and the residents. See, we need to get out of, for 8 years, people will go to hate the police officers. That's nonsense. We need to understand and have respect for our police officers. Are some bad? Of course. There's Marines that are bad too. Any industry that you can think of, there's a bad element. But we don't paint the picture and say they're all bad. We need to get behind them, support them, because I always tell people at 1 o'clock in the morning, when somebody's breaking into your house, who do you call? A complete stranger, most of the time, is rushing to your house to your aid. I support the men and women in blue. We need to get, again, like you said about patriotism, we need to teach children respect for authority again. Does that mean that there's not bad? Of course not. But we hold those that are bad, we hold them accountable. All this together, we're going to get public safety back together in the 51st District.
If you live in the 51st Congressional District and you have the opportunity to vote for Juan Hidalgo Jr., you should be marking his name on your ballot right now. His name should be in your mind, ready to vote for him right now. Let's put this great man in office.
Thank you. Please go to hidalgoforcongress.com, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, share and make a contribution. It's extremely important. You can see all the things that we're doing. We're not waiting. We're out there working right now. And a great piece of news. You guys are going to be the first ones to hear this, okay? But just yesterday, we received a great endorsement from the next Speaker of the House. Representative Kevin McCarthy just endorsed me. And so, Dolores, you guys are hearing this first. But again, I give all glory and honor to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And God is moving. He will put men where he wants them. And I ask you to continue to pray for me and my campaign and my family. And thank you so much for having me, Dolores. God bless you.